Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel before we get started. And it's important to talk about this new study that came out today about the electorate and what is it saying about the Republican Party and the direction they should be heading in versus the direction that they actually may be heading in, especially if Biden does take the oath of office in January 2021. So we know that Donald Trump this cycle, even though he lost, it's not technically, there's still some cases, but for YouTube purposes, we have to say Donald Trump lost, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But Donald Trump made a lot of areas of the country redder this time around despite losing this election. And a lot of these areas were, yes, in South Texas, you had the more Latino part of the country come aboard and support Trump. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that and why that's important too. But also you saw many parts of rural Ohio, rural Iowa, Indiana, as well as many other rural parts of the country, such as western Minnesota and parts of North Carolina and Georgia and Florida, that moved vastly into Donald Trump's column this election cycle. Now, looking at the 2016 electorate, we see a very, very similar thing happen here. And this was across the whole entire country because 2016 was more of a change election. You saw places in the Midwest that have not gone Republican for many, many years. You saw a lot of Democrat strongholds flip red, probably permanently at this rate, depending on what happens to the Republican Party. And you saw the entire map change from blue to red. You saw many counties up in Wisconsin that went for Obama by 20, 30 points or so, and Iowa go for Donald Trump by the same margin last time, and you're seeing the same trend carry out this cycle, and probably next cycle if the Republicans do the right thing and nominate the right candidate. And partially this has to do with Donald Trump and the policies that Donald Trump espoused back in 2016. The anti-elite sentiment, the rejection of the conservatism of the past that strictly focused on big business. He actually decided to take a stand for the working class, to take a stand for the middleman, to take a stand for the little guy, both on a cultural axis, because you have your culture being taken by an establishment gone rogue, as well as on an economic basis. You look at things like free trade that have been espoused by the establishment left and the establishment right, and they screwed over middle America for many years under the guise of saving you 5 cents off of your grocery bill to gut middle America in the process. Now, looking at the 2016 electorate, this was a massive study that was done in 2016. We're going to talk about the 2020 study, which is a little bit different, but both studies are very important. The average Republican voter is relatively economically centered. On average, they typically are a market skeptic. They typically are skeptical of free trade and big business. Donald Trump tapped into this. That's partially why he won, and he was able to do this more effectively than the bottom quadrant was, because obviously when you talk about policies that help out the little guy, capitalism does need to be something that you take into account. However, it needs to be capitalism for Main Street, not just capitalism for Wall Street. Now, looking at the policies of Donald Trump, and you talk about how much he helped small businesses, a lot of that was based off of right-wing economic policy, and that actually helped move a lot of Latinos in South Texas to the right, because a lot of Latinos typically are business owners. A lot of them do own small businesses. They may only employ a couple of people here and there, but a lot of Latinos, third and fourth generation especially, are business owners, and Donald Trump improving with them is very good for the future of the Republican Party. So it's important that the Republican Party continues that outreach to small business capitalism and continues to reject big business and woke capitalism that we're seeing here. And we're seeing this here on this platform, which is going to remove videos that are claiming mass F-word changed election results. Now, just in case, make sure you guys follow me, subscribe to my BitChute account, subscribe to my DLive account as well. I'm going to be doing a weekly stream on DLive no matter what happens. But it's important to understand that this is the free market infringing on Americans. And we could say that it was because of certain government regulations that have allowed there to be no competition. But thinking that we're going to deregulate our way out of this, it's a little bit naive, and it's important that we take a stand against big tech censorship. And censorship is real, and my channel has taken a hit recently. There's been extensive shadow banning, and partially it's because YouTube is not really recommending my videos to non-subscribers at the rate they used to. So make sure you share this video with a friend. Make sure you do that, because it will help grow the audience. It will help this video in the algorithm, so make sure you do that. But also keep in mind that YouTube blatantly is admitting in the process that their algorithm is skewed. It's not necessarily a right versus left skew, but it's towards what they call authoritative news sources. They're blatantly bragging about 88% of their videos in the top 10 search about the election came from news sources, which a lot of these news sources were NBC, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, and a lot of the rest were late-night commentary shows. And they say creator videos and commentary. That's what I do. We are probably in the bottom 5% of the search results. Even if you look up my name and you look up a title, my full title of one of my videos, you're probably going to really struggle to find my video. That's because that's what the algorithm does. And it's not necessarily a right versus left thing. That may be part of it, but it's more of the anti-establishmentarian content versus your big media corporation. So to support Alt Tech, make sure you follow me on BitChute, Parler, DLive. That's all in the description below, as well as my other social media. But that's important, that Republicans need to stop shilling for corporations that hate them and hate their voters, and the voters know it. And Donald Trump is not one of the people that shills for them. In fact, Donald Trump took a stand. He said he would veto the defense bill if it did not repeal Section 230. However, the Republican Party, 80% of them did not veto the bill. They went against Trump words. AOC actually vetoed the bill. And yes, she obviously vetoed it for other reasons. But the fact that the squad voted in favor of something that Trump wanted and would benefit Trump's base is very, very ironic. But this is what the study shows. A lot of Trump's base is not far right-leaning. A lot of people say, oh, in the future, Republicans need to become more libertarian. This study shows that roughly 5% of the electorate or less is libertarian, and the ones that are libertarian are typically closer to the center. They're not these radical libertarians that you see, because we can see this here. Very few politicians really are true libertarians, and very few people are true libertarians. They really don't exist outside of the internet by and large. A lot of Americans, especially in Trump's base, are populist, and that's why it's important. They're roughly center-right economically, but they're also economic nationalists and economic populists. Moving forward, it's important to understand that the conservative movement needs to speak to their needs, not the needs of the 1% and the libertarians down here in the bottom right quadrant, where practically 0% of the population is. And there was a new study I wanted to talk about the 2020 electorate here. And what it does show, and this is very blurry, that Donald Trump voters typically were towards the center more, and they were populist, very few libertarians. Now, keep in mind, these were very loaded questions that were asked, a lot more loaded than the questions on this graph right here, and that kind of did skew the results, especially on the economic questions, where one of the questions actually asked if giving tax relief to billionaires was important, if it meant helping small businesses grow during the virus relief. So it was kind of a little bit of a loaded question asking in the economic section for the graph, but it shows you economic populism and a focus on social conservatism, either way, is very popular among Trump's base and among America as a whole. And that's what's important. That's what the Republican Party needs to know moving forward into the future. And it's funny, we see this rhetoric from PragerU, and PragerU is supposedly one of the largest conservative outlets for so-called conservative education, but a lot of them are corporate neocon shills to an extent. Not everybody at PragerU, but a lot of the people at PragerU are, saying, do you use an iPhone, watch Netflix, listen to Spotify, then you love capitalism and can't stand big government. It's like this gotcha type of conservatism, and it really doesn't really sit well with a lot of people, especially when trying to convert people over to Trumpism from the right and the left. It doesn't really sit well. It's not very productive at all. And this is exactly what's holding back the right. Why are you shilling for Starbucks? Starbucks hates us. Apple hates us. And I don't know much about Netflix, but I already presume that they are woke on a lot of things. They partake in the woke capitalism. They are a part of that system. And yes, it's true, Apple's essential monopoly was created by the collusion of big business and big government, so it's kind of hypocritical all around, and I just don't see why conservatives have to shill for big business all the time. It doesn't exactly make sense, and it doesn't add up, and it does not work in the best interests of the majority of conservatives in this country, as you can see by a lot of these graphs here. And moving forward, it's important that we take this into consideration. The House GOP is already setting their sights on focusing on economic freedom, and that's just not what the majority of the country wants right now. A tax plan can be changed at any time. However, a culture usually does take around 10 years at a minimum to really try and shape and change, and that's really the dilemma that we're in right now as a conservative movement and a nation as a whole. Talking about socialism, that's not exactly what won Donald Trump the 2016 election. Donald Trump talked about the elites. Donald Trump talked about big business being a major problem, talked about the corruption of politicians and Hillary Clinton. And that's what will win him 2024 if he decides to run again. And that's what kind of direction that we need to stir the conservative movement in the future. Make it a more national populist party, because national populism, America first, it's inevitable. And it's up to us to make that happen in the future. And it's up to us to change our focus so we actually can win this country. Otherwise, the Republican Party will go the way of the Whig Party, and conservatism will exist no more in the United States of America. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please like this video down below, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media, become a member, donate to the Patreon, or subscribe. Star links in description. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.